Alright, so we got a lot to talk about with this chapter, especially with everything we learned with KENJAKU, because it's pretty much confirmed here, right? That he is technically Yuji's mother, and this is going back, of course, to chapter 143, right? Before Yuji and Okatsu have their talk, and we're shown in this dream of his of a flashback of when Itadori was a baby, and when we see his mother, she has the same stitching on her forehead, the binding vow that Geto has. So at the time when we first saw this, it was pretty unclear what this meant. Maybe it was just Gege implying that there was some, I don't know, post-traumatic stress Yuji was having after his fight with KENJAKU, but no, now it's confirmed that Yuji is in fact his son. And I think what makes that so insane is it really puts his whole game plan for the human evolution, right, on an entirely different scope. If KENJAKU had planned for Yuji to be the vessel for Sukuna, because we have to think about it, KENJAKU's plan for merging humanity with Tengen goes back for centuries, and there's also the fact that during all this time, Sukuna's been divided into essentially several cursed objects, so it'd just be too weird for Sukuna's revival and KENJAKU's plan finally coming into action to be happening all at once. There's just no way that's a coincidence, because we can't forget the reason why KENJAKU's plan never worked out was because there was always a Six Eyes user to protect Tengen and the Star Plasma vessel from merging. But now that those three are isolated or just not in his way anymore, we're now seeing KENJAKU able to execute his plan. But this all also conveniently is happening during the era of Sukuna's revival, so there has to be some relation here. And I'm sorry, I know I haven't really gotten into the actual chapter yet, but I don't know, I guess I just really miss seeing KENJAKU. It feels like we haven't seen him in so long. But going back to the chapter, we're actually seeing Sasuke and Higuchi from the Occult Club, and this is really interesting because Gege usually likes to tie several storylines together, but I don't think anyone expected to see these two again, so I'm curious as to what role they're going to be playing here, if at all. I mean, let's just say, for example, we see Itadori and Sasuke meet again. I'd say there's a good chance she tells him about KENJAKU, referring to him as his son, so maybe this will cause him to react, right? And I'm just throwing out ideas here at the moment, but maybe if Yuji can connect the dots here, we can get more information from Sukuna to see what he might know, because I get the feeling there's a lot of lore and backstory to unpack here. And what's also interesting is that during KENJAKU's talk with Sasuke, he doesn't just let her leave the barrier, but apparently a lot of other civilians as well. You can actually see there was a lot who decided to exit the barrier. And even though it was only Sasuke who he talked about Itadori being his son to, it seems like everyone who left the barrier had a dream or a vision of KENJAKU. So ultimately, this all comes down to why did he allow this to happen, right? And at the moment, I honestly have no idea, given that we know civilian deaths can count towards points in the Culling game, but of course they'd have to be in the barrier, so definitely something curious. I wonder why he would allow this. So after we see Sasuke and Higuchi make it outside the barrier, then we cut back to Itadori and the crew, and they're going through the roster here trying to find Angel so she can break the back gate open. But since they don't know her real name, all they can really do is split up and try to find her in the number 2 colony, since, you know, that's where Tengen said she would be. So going into the number 2 colony is going to be Panda and Hikari. They're hoping that, you know, at the very least Panda's smell will be able to find her, and going into the number 1 colony is going to be just Itadori and Fushiguro. And since they can't communicate with their cell phones, it's going to have to be Kirara who'll be watching on standby from, you know, outside the barriers. And Hikari says something really cool when he tells Panda, judging from the scores, Kashimo is the strongest guy. It's only reasonable that I should be the one to fight him. So this is interesting because it really begs the question just how strong Hikari actually is, because we know from Gojo he's on par with Itadori and Akatsu, but even Okotsu thinks Hikari is even stronger when he's in the right state of mind. So I think this is just setting us up for Hikari versus either Kashimo or some other future villain we'll be seeing in the number 2 colony, maybe even, you know, Higurama or Takaba, because who knows, maybe it will be a while until we see Angel come into the story again. But we're finally getting into the start of the Culling game now, so I really hope chapter 161 follows up with this immediately, especially with Itadori and Fushiguro, because I think with this chapter it's already foreshadowing some conflict between Sukuna and Fushiguro again. So hopefully we get to see what happens as, you know, as soon as they enter the barriers. Alright guys, and that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know how you all felt about this chapter, especially with everything happening with KENJAKU. I feel like that's something I can probably dedicate a whole video towards. And let me know where you think the next chapter is going to go. Maybe we see Higurama or Angel or Takaba. There's so many directions this can go. But if you liked the video guys, please leave a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you're interested in more Jujutsu Kaisen content and chapter reviews, make sure you subscribe. I'll be doing more here on the channel. And yeah, thank you so much for watching guys. Have a great day.